Welcome to the WealthGenius Podcast, brought to you by the Expand Wealth Real Estate Fund. Expand your wealth by investing in apartment buildings. Go to expandwealthfund.com to book your info session. The WealthGenius Podcast, strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The WealthGenius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The WealthGenius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
All right, my friend, JV Queen, what's happening?
You know, all good. Life's good.
Yes, looking great. Looking great.
Let's
start there.
Yeah.
Let's start there
Yeah.
through this transformation.
Oh, gosh.
And how did it, you just woke up and you said, I want to transform my body, my mindset,
No. None of that.
Yeah, no? What
None
was
of that.
it? Yeah.
I was bored because my portfolio is I'm optimizing and maximizing is my choice of words. So I'm optimizing and maximizing my portfolio. And in that, I realized that my doing wasn't the same. And so I had time. And I was like, dude, I need deals, right? Remember, I was putting out there, I need deals. I want big deals, 80 to 200 units, 80 to 200 units. This is what we want to do. And I said, I'm bored because the deals weren't coming. I was marketing to all the people, talking to everybody. And then Adriana says, only boring people are bored. And I was like, oh, I'm not a boring person. So I reflected. I was like, if I have time in my calendar right now, what is the best way for me to optimize my everything, my life moving forward? If my portfolio is in this state of hold and life, I allowed time for myself. And there was this lady that came on, you know, those infinite moments, and she dropped the F-bomb, and I was like, oh, if I drop the people are attracted right now because they want the truth. And this lady was offering me the truth, and I just said, that's who I need to follow. And I did. I'm super healthy. I'm doing all the right things. Larry is loving it. And guess what? In this time, we've attracted a deal now that's 72 units we're creating. I just got offered an 83 unit opportunity to be able to go in on the GP side. And I'm like, there's my 150. So as I was distracted with this health and learning, along comes the next phase of deals.
I love it because a lot of people put that on the shelf. Mm-hmm. I've done it. Right? I've done it many times, and I try to make my way back to it.
Yeah.
And I'm inspired by you, and what you're saying right now reminds me of, you know, that couple that wants to have a baby. They're trying,
Yes.
they're trying, and then they adopt, and then they have a baby.
That's right.
They become
That's
pregnant.
right. They start a business. Yep. And then
Yeah.
when you're not really paying attention to it is when it happens.
No, I love it. So look, a lot of people know you as the JV Queen.
Yep.
And, you know, you've been on many shows, and I watched a lot of your podcasts, and of course, we've been friends for a long, long time.
I know.
And, you know, you're one of my favorite humans, and I love you to death, but I never really get to know, kind of the background, you know. I do remember the story of when you broke your neck, or you is it dislocated your neck?
No, I broke my neck.
You broke your neck, yeah.
Yep.
And that was a really interesting story. But I want to go deep on this podcast. I want to kind of get to know you, the person, and kind of what shapes you, right?
Shapes me.
And so what's the story? What's the origin story, if you will?
You know what? I had a good childhood. My parents are still married. They were working class. My mom stayed home with us for many years. She was the first entrepreneur that ever was in my life. I've reflected on that. She made skating dresses. We never went without anything.
Did you know that she was an entrepreneur at that time?
No, I never really saw it that way until just before I climbed Kilimanjaro. I did some deep dives and realized that she was the first entrepreneur that I had experience around. But she did it because she needed her own income, her own money. Not that her and my dad's money was always one, but she just wanted her own money. And so that was really interesting. But I had a good life. And I tell you, I would say to people that, someone who has a rags to riches, you are sleeping in the bank, in the ATM machine. I was like, oh, well, that's why you had the drive. I had a good life. I was never, no crazy stories. My dad slapped me when I was 16 because I called my mom a bitch. But that was it, right? Like, I deserved it. I look back and I was like, I deserved that.
Yeah.
But, so breaking out of good was hard. I had a good life. We had a house. We had 2 kids. We had 2 cars. And I just kept saying, Larry, there's more to life. Larry, there's more to life. And Larry has, husband of 22 years. He's had the rags to riches, and so I'm out continuously breaking him out of wanting more, because he's like, I got more than I ever thought I would have. And so, I think it's just kind of, come from what else do I have to offer? What else do I want to be able to give back? And, it's not for a lack of love. I have a beautiful family, but I needed to break the mold. I was a breaker of molds.
And so, was it a transition from, you're saying good, I'm going to equate it to average.
Yes.
So that's how I'm going to translate the word, because that's the way, when you're saying that, that's how I perceive it. What was the first thing that you did that was different, that felt uncomfortable, that was outside of the norm?
So I worked in a dental office, and we were part of a network marketing company. And there was different tiers that you could meet. And when you met this one tier, you received the ability to buy a black BMW. So I showed up at work, and somebody said, hey, the doctor came in, like my boss, and he said, is there a patient here? And I said, no, why? And he goes, well, there's a BMW parked in the staff parking. And I was like, that's mine. And he was like, yours? And he gave me this look of like, who are you to have this vehicle? So that was the first one that I was like.
And how did you feel at that moment? Like, when he's saying that to you, was it like condescending? Was it like, you can buy a BMW? Or was it more like envy? Like, whoa, you got a BMW kind of thing. Like,
it was disbelief. It was like, who are you to have this role? And then the building came for sale, and I said, you should buy the building. And he was like, why would I ever buy the building? I was like, because you don't want me to buy the building and you to be my tenant. And I already knew that I was like, I'm leaving here. I'm not going to be here for much longer. But it really did suit the life that we needed at the time. Kind of gave me that confidence to be able to go and do something else. Yeah. Network marketing changed my life.
I believe it. My daughter, when she was 21, she asked me, there was some company, I can't remember the name of it, hair product or whatever. Yeah. And it's an MLM.
And it didn't work for you?
No, it didn't work for me. I want my money back. By the way, for a long time, because I was supporting her, they were still shipping the thing to my house. Yeah. And I tried to cancel it multiple times, but I don't have time. It's like years that just went by. I'm just getting boxes and stuff. I'm like, Talia, I have no hair. Tell him I have no hair, But, she asked me, should I do this business or should I get into this company? I'm like, absolutely.
Yes.
Especially if you don't have any experience in being an entrepreneur, knowing what it's like to be self-motivated, connecting with people, being consistently uncomfortable in presentations, talking about your product, being out there. It's the best. It's the best kind of training.
Jim Rohn, Darren Hardy, like these are the first. John C. Maxwell. Our car became a university on wheels, and my kids will still they would request, Mommy, play the CD that has the Walt Disney story. Mommy, play the story. Like, so they loved the stories that these success audios would give to us.
I still remember that. That was in the Success magazine.
The Success magazine.
And I would just get it just for the CD. Yeah.
And then you listen to it, some better than others. Others were just crazy. So that was like really just kind of, I think it was the first time that I was like, oh, I have the ability to change the trajectory of where I want to go, and then just put all the energy behind it. And we asked ourselves, what industry that the harder we work, the more direct our results were, because we were really great staff, really great employees. And Larry and I wanted an industry that we could have the direct results. And that's why the real estate industry came into our awareness.
And so first of all, you have this job.
Yep.
You're doing this MLM company. Yeah. You're driving this Beamer.
Yep.
So you're evolving,
Yep.
right? I'm not saying that to buy a Beamer, you evolve, but you're obviously stepping outside of your norm. You're average. You're good.
Yep.
And so at what point do you leave the MLM, and at what point do you leave the job? And at what point does real estate become your full-time focus and everything?
Yep. So that was 2012. We did the MLM until about 13. And then I realized that it was like the MLM was good. And the company, there's some people, part of Wealth Genius, that we've had some great conversations about, but the company just wasn't the right company. So that piddled away. 2013, we were done with the MLM. We still had the BMW, of course. And then, we joined our first, ability to, learn about real estate full time. And that was 2014. So 2012 was the MLN, pivoted away a year later. And within a year, Larry and I knew, like, we were already looking for what that next industry. So 2014 was when we were like, oh, this is where we're going to go next. And
what's the first move?
Education.
Mm-hmm.
We went to buy a property without any support behind us, and the mortgage broker at the time said, no, you won't need to cash your RSPs. We just need to show the bank that you have them. And in the moment, 3 days before closing, she was like, oh, sorry, the bank wants to see you cash those RSPs. So it wasn't the end of the world. We cashed them. We did the deal. And I thought, there has to be a better way. Like, I know people are buying more than 2 single family homes. It would have been our third property at the time. I know there is a way. And that's why, of course, and then up on the radio pops into your RAS filter, pops the information that you ask for. And we literally plugged in and followed a system. And
so now transitioning into the JV Queen.
Yep.
And, it's a beautiful title, but it means you've done a lot of JVs.
Yep. I have.
How many?
Probably 65.
65 JVs.
Yeah.
And all kinds, right? All kinds of different JVs. What attracted you the most about joint ventures?
I wanted a way to be able to help other people, but I felt that it was a way that was fair and equitable. Mm-hmm. I know somebody was like, well, why would I give you 50%? It's actually one of my students. He was so funny. He's such a cute. He goes like, I would never. And he crosses his arm like, I'd never give you 50%. And when he first met me, now I'm his student, or now he's my student. I love them to pieces. And he was like, take my money, Mandy, take my money. And I was like, see, you get it now. Mm-hmm. And so this aha of how can I help other people kind of see what I'm doing. I remember saying to a mentor, like, how do I attract for my partners? And he stood back and he kind of smiled. He put his hands around it. He's like, keep doing what you're doing because the partners are watching. People are watching. And I think it's just becoming authentic. I stayed in my lane. Mm-hmm. I stayed consistent. I stayed small. I say small, but I mean boring old, right? Duplicatable again and again and again. So, people would come on the call and they're like, I know that we're going to talk about joint ventures. Excellent. So my messaging was the same. The properties it just became really repeatable, which creates confidence in what you're offering to other people.
What's the most challenging part about joint ventures? So people that are listening to this podcast are probably getting excited. I mean, JV Queen.
Yep.
She's on the podcast.
Yep.
Like, I need to listen up. But what's challenge? What are things to look out for?
Setting expectations up front. I'm going to give you monthly reports and I'm going to get all your money back in 4 months. And, you won't have to worry about, no tenants in toilets, right? You really have to be able to let them know that, you're not promising the moon and the stars. So it's
overpromise.
over promise, under promise, over
No,
deliver.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like people tend to over promise and under deliver.
Yeah. And they're not in control of interest rates. And you're not in control of what the appraisal comes in at. And you're not in control if a contractor necessarily shows up again, on time and in budget. So, being able to have the hard conversations up front. And then the biggest thing, and I mean, I should thank these JVs at some point, because the story of what they've taught me that I'm sharing again and again and again is get the paperwork signed, get the agreements signed, get them signed. Mm-hmm. As much as they're nice, and I went to these people's houses and it was Christmas and we had this nice meal, and we appraised the properties a year later, and both properties had gone up by $100,000. So I made them $200,000 in a year. Half of that should have been mine in a 50-50. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Thank you very much. You'll hear from our lawyer."
Oh,
because it made it look so easy that they were, stepping away. So anyways, they did end up paying me $40,000 of my 100. And so really, in another way, I made $40,000, and I have this amazing story to keep talking, to keep sharing about the power of getting things signed.
Yeah. So it's like, oh no, I trust him. He's a nice person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it. We talked about that.
I'm a handshake person.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But what about the real details? Like even right now, we're talking now, I split my partnerships, still the person that will come in with some capital, but now I have, working partners. I have the operational side, and I needed to take my own medicine here. Get that shareholders agreement written. What are your roles for the next 10 years? What are my roles for the next 10 years? Because everything's all fine and dandy up front when there's nothing going wrong. But when you get into the weeds, when you get into the hard times, that's when these agreements kind of come back. And somebody said, you should have a good relationship, and on the other end of the spectrum, you should have the agreement. You want to kind of stay here, but you have to be able to know that you can have a good conversation and go out for dinner, but you have to know there's an agreement in place.
What do you love about joint ventures?
Knowing that my partner's financial trajectory has changed. People have lost children, gone through some health diagnoses, relationship changes, and they kind of call and they say, the only thing I don't have to worry about right now is my real estate. Mm-hmm. I said, yep. That's why I do what I do.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Well, you're definitely passionate about it. I know that people are going to want to reach out to you because you want someone you want an operator that is passionate, that it's not, and on this podcast we had Kyle and he reminded me that, when with this OPM, it's not a gimmick.
Nope.
You know what I mean? These are people. These are real people with real savings and in real lives. And what you're saying is like, you know what? I got this. Yeah. We've had some transition in our portfolio. You're well aware of our optimization, maximization of this portfolio. And Larry and I, we're like, what do we need to do right now, right? All hands on deck. We head up, we pack the truck, and we go into this empty unit that we knew needed to be painted, and we brought mattresses up, and our tenant called us, she goes, I'm going to call you squatters. And I was like, can the owner of the building be a squatter? And she's like, you moved mattresses through the window. And I was like, okay, fine. But what I love about the story is, you know what? I will do what I need to do to get it done. And in this time of people going, where do I invest and who do I invest in? You want an operator that is going to clear the thing. No, nothing's above you. Get in the car, have the hard conversations, fire the people, roll up the sleeves, and get in there and do the stuff. And I, if anything, of all of my angst and, partners that I shouldn't have to do this, and you get all angry, and then you're like, but there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing what I need to do, because my partners and the what they've bought into, what I said was going to happen, that's my reputation, right? 30 years to create a reputation in 30 seconds and done. And I'm like, this is my reputation. So we are true operators, and that's the cream that's rising to the top right now. Beautiful. what inspires you?
I think my kids. My kids inspire me. Making a difference inspires me. Seeing ahas, you're standing up talking to a room full of people and you can see light bulbs go on. Oh, that just that fills my cup.
Love it. Love it. So they're going to be able to get a hold of you. All the information will be in the show notes. Thank you for stopping by. I mean, a few times you couldn't make it, but now you're here, so I love it. Before we go, what's the quote that you live by? What's the one quote that really resonates with you?
Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. This is it just never stops. Personally developing, reading, health, life, wealth, it's all about, it all starts with you. It all starts here. So,
woo!
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That's it. Alfonso loves you, and we'll see you at the top. Woo! All right.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast, presented in part by Expand Investor Conference, December 13th to 15th at Weston Harbor Castle, Toronto. Get your tickets now at wealthgenius.ai/expand. If you have a question or comment about something you heard today, reach out to the Godfather via social media or email him anytime. All that information is in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Wealth Genius Podcast. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Until next time, see you at the top.